Episode 301, Who Will Invest? Looking at his son, other family members, and his son's friends who were there to support him, Reginald felt very grateful. They were much more loyal than many of his old friends. "Thank you, everyone, for being here," he said. David went to the front of the crowd and said, "Today, I'm asking you to support our family. The Fidelity Group needs at least $2 billion to get us safely through this crisis. But the Drake family has only $500 million of cash available." He continued, "I'm asking for a further $1.5 billion worth of investment. But as yet I've had no offers. I'm surprised and disappointed. I'm offering you a wonderful investment opportunity." Jason Morley called out, "David, I want to invest. Here's my bank card. Please, take it." Jason handed his bank card to David and said modestly, "I'm sorry, it'll be a relatively small investment. This is all the money that I've saved for the last few years. When I get home, I'll ask my father for more." "David, I will invest $1 million," someone else cried out. "Here, David, I have $3 million to invest. I'll also ask my brothers to get involved," said another friend. "David, I'll invest $1 million for now, but when I get home, I'll persuade my family to invest more. I'll give you everything I have," shouted another. All the rich young men were generous and keen to invest in David's company. Daryl Brennan was the only one who didn't want to get involved because his situation was a little different. The Brennan family had only arrived in D.C. 10 years ago. Unlike the other people there, Daryl hadn't grown up with David and didn't regard him as a brother. He also knew that the financial crisis facing the Drake family was serious. It wouldn't take much for their business to be completely ruined, and he felt that there was a strong possibility that their empire would never recover. He was reluctant to invest in their business because he felt he would never see his money again. But he didn't want to be the only person there who refused to invest in his friend. He had to at least give him a little money to show his support. He put his arm around Miriam's shoulder and winked at her as a signal that she should cooperate with what he was about to do. On the way there, Daryl had explained his plan to her. Although she felt uncomfortable with what he was asking her to do, she still nodded. She had been with him for quite a long time, and although he sometimes lost his temper with her, on the whole, she felt it was a good relationship. She knew that it would be hard to find a rich young man who would treat her any better than he did. Because she wanted to hang on to him, she devoted all her energy and attention to him. She hoped that he would soon ask her to marry him. Daryl went over to David and took a bank card from his pocket. He looked his friend in the eye and said, "David, this card has $1 million on it. Please take it. If you need any help from the Drake family, you only need to ask. My family will help you in any way we can." David hadn't expected Daryl, who had not grown up with him, to want to help him so much. He was very moved. Other friends of David and the Drake family were also very appreciative of Daryl's offer. "Thank you." David patted him on the shoulder and prepared to take the bank card. Miriam was standing beside Daryl. "Oh, Daryl," she said, "you've taken the wrong card. That's the card with only $5,000 on it. The other bank card is the one with $1 million on it." "I must apologize, David. I've given you the wrong card," Daryl said. Then he looked in his wallet and said in mock surprise, "Where's my other bank card?" "Daryl, I saw you put that card in the pocket of your other jacket. Did you forget to take it out when you changed clothes?" Miriam said. "Oh, what an idiot I am," said Daryl in mock annoyance. Daryl patted his forehead and said to David, "David, I realize what happened. I put the bank card in my pocket when I went out last night, but I was careless and forgot to put it back in my wallet." "Please don't worry. It's an honest mistake and I'm grateful that you wanted to help," David said. "Thank you for understanding. Take this $5,000 and I'll send you the other $1,000,000 card later," Daryl said. David believed what Daryl told him and was very grateful. Daryl said proudly, "It's nothing. I have several cards with $1,000,000 on each. I haven't spent as much as usual this month, so I can spare $1,000,000 for you. It's not a big deal." Daryl and Miriam walked back into the crowd. Miriam looked at Daryl's smug expression and felt a little disgusted. She still smiled at him, though. This man was her future life partner. She didn't mind if he cheated on others, as long as he didn't cheat on her. By the time everyone had finished offering him money, David estimated that more than 20 of his rich friends had contributed over $40 million for him. It was a lot, but only a drop in the ocean from the $1.5 billion that was needed. His friends realized that the amount of money that they had given wasn't enough. They started to think that they would not be able to help the Drake family survive the crisis. "We've all offered everything we can, but it's only come to $40 million. What a shame," someone said. "Yes, I bet some people could give more," said his friend. "David managed to get everyone here, but we still haven't been able to save his family. I bet the people who are against the Drake family will have a good laugh," said another man. "I'll call my father now and ask him to give $50 million to them," said another. David stopped the friend who was going to call his father. He said to everyone gratefully, "Friends, thank you. You all came here today as I asked, and have done so much to help me. I'm very moved." "But what about the Fidelity Group? Will it go bankrupt?" a friend asked. "What will happen will happen. We'll just have to see what fate has in store for us," Reginald said calmly. He looked desolate. Looking at his father, David said firmly, "No, Dad, although the money isn't enough, as long as we all unite together, I believe that we can win. There's no obstacle that can't be defeated if we work together, and I'm determined that the Fidelity Group will never fall." "Yes, if we're determined, we can do anything," agreed a cousin enthusiastically. "The Fidelity Group has been working in DC for so long, and so many people's livelihoods depend on it. The people of DC will not let it fail." Lindsay silently watched what was happening. She knew that the company could only be saved if the $1.5 billion were raised. If it wasn't, it really would all be down to fate. She quietly walked out of the office and walked up and down the corridor for a few minutes deep in thought. She suddenly came up with someone who might be able to help them. She thought of Alex. Although she didn't know what sort of family Alex was from, she had noticed how the Drakes and other influential families treated him. She also knew that Ken Stokes worked for him, and that his relations were treated with respect by everyone who had been at her sister's original failed wedding to David. He must come from a powerful family. She just didn't know how rich they were. Alex had also told her that he had been expelled from his family, but perhaps he'd been welcomed back to them by now. Whatever the situation, she felt it was worth asking him for help. She took out her cell phone and her cheeks flushed as she selected his number. She hadn't spoken to him for a long time. Ever since the day that he married her sister, she had tried very hard not to think about him. and until now she had achieved this successfully. But now, when she saw his name on her screen, her emotions were stirred up again. She could picture his face in her mind. She felt very nervous, but she tried to calm herself down. Taking a deep breath, she called his number. At that moment, Alex was carrying a fruit basket into the hospital, headed toward Don's ward. In the ward, Daisy had just served her brother his dinner and was now washing the dishes. When they saw Alex arriving, she and Don were both very happy. "Alex, why are you here?" Don asked as he tried to get out of the hospital bed. "Slow down, buddy. I'm a friend. There's no need to be so polite to me." Alex quickly went over and helped Don to lie back down in bed. He knew all about Don's injuries. "Don, I've come to see you because I've got some good news for you," he said, smiling at Don. "The university has accepted full responsibility for your injury, and their insurance will be covering your hospital fees. You don't have to worry about paying me back my money." Alex took out his cell phone and showed Don a copy of a work-related injury document to confirm what he had said. Daisy also looked at it and said excitedly, "That's wonderful, Don! And now you don't have to worry about getting out of the hospital as soon as possible to earn the money to pay Alex back." "Daisy, hush. I never said I was in a hurry to pay Alex back. I was never worried about it. He knew I would pay him back eventually." Don joked about paying Alex back now he had seen the compensation he would receive. But in reality, he had been very anxious about getting back to work to earn the money. Finally, he could relax. Looking at Alex, Don felt even more admiration and gratitude toward him. He said, "Alex, I know it was you that sorted this out for me. Thank you. When I get well, I'll invite you to dinner. I'll cook you my favorite dish." "Well, buddy, I'll take you up on that promise. I can't wait," Alex said with a smile. As they continued to chat happily, Alex's cell phone rang. He was surprised when he saw it was Lindsay calling. He was apprehensive about answering her call. After a pause, he answered the phone. "Hello, Lindsay. It's a nice surprise to hear from you. How can I help you?" When she heard Alex's voice, Lindsay became emotional again. However, she quickly calmed herself and said, "Alex, I'm calling to ask you if you'd be willing to help the Drake family in D.C. They're in a crisis situation and need to raise $2 billion as soon as possible, or they risk bankruptcy. They've only managed to raise $540 million, and they've run out of options. Do you have any way to help them raise the rest?"